Hello, Steve White, TrekBoy89 for Steve Arts 89. I wanted to share my stories of meeting the Star Trek actors, because over the years I've been fortunate enough to go to a lot of Star Trek conventions in Melbourne and meet a lot of the actors. And one of the best sort of experiences really was meeting the actors from Enterprise while they were filming the show, and also just after the show. So basically around the show being on the air, and it was quite surreal to sort of spend the day with these actors, and then 3 days later be watching them on TV playing their characters again. And because one of the things with the other Star Trek actors, especially some of the older ones from the original series, they've aged, they're very different from the people they were when they're on the show. And even though it's them, when you're looking at the actor and they just shot the scenes a couple of months ago, it's really surreal. You really feel like you're there with the characters in a way. So there was a convention in, I want to say Perth. It was either Perth or Adelaide. I don't remember. I can never remember which is which. I know but I can't remember which is which. And it was a big deal for me to travel because I didn't travel a lot at the time. It's a bit of a homebody, and I really wanted to go because I loved Trinner. I felt Trip was pretty hot, and Casey. I think Casey Biggs was his name. Was it Briggs? No, Biggs. I think Biggs. One of the Cardassians from Deep Space Nine. The two of them were at this convention, and so I went, and it was in this big convention center, and they'd done it up, and there was a moment where the guy who was hosting it, I think Stuart Blair is his name, he was dressed as Spock, and he came out onto this little stage and stood at this little podium, and it was it felt like being at a Starfleet event, like a United Federation of Planets event, like when you look at the scene of the president speaking at Star Trek 6, it very much felt like that. There were a lot of people in uniform, aliens. It was very surreal, and the premier of, I think, the state basically came and wanted to say, how much they appreciated the fans, and these sort of events and things like these conventions that were good for the economy and for the local people and that, and just was talking about just the appreciation of sort of people who it was just really interesting. It just felt really important and sort of formal, and it was just really good. And I got formal photos with Connor, but then I still got selfies as well, and he was pretty cool about it. Like, he was fairly relaxed. And yeah, I'm not a huge Deep Space Nine fan, and the Cardassians weren't my favourites, so I wasn't that familiar with what Casey actually did on the show, because I couldn't really remember his Cardassian from any of the other Cardassians. I felt bad. I was really just there for Connor, but he was nice too. But yeah, Connor was cute. Connor was still hot, and he was kind of funny though, because I think he was a little bit. I don't think he really was, used to the attention that he was sort of getting from being like a Star Trek star, because the show was, I think they're in the third season at that point. I think there was sort of the hiatus between the third and fourth season, so he had a few years to sort of be dipped into the Star Trek fandom, but I still think it was still a bit strange to him, and I wasn't too bad. I didn't hit on him or anything. I was just sort of myself, and I think it was a 2-day thing. I seem to remember I stayed in a hotel overnight, which is the first time I'd ever booked a hotel for myself. It was really weird, and it was just fun to go around all the events. They had a little display of DeForest Kelley, some memorabilia from him. They had the jumper that he wore when he messed up signing his name in the cement at Grun's, or Man's Chinese Theatre, whichever it is now. And I must admit, while no one was watching, I touched it. That was the closest I was ever going to get to D. And it was just a really great event, and I'm just glad I went, and the people were really nice, because I was sort of travelling, and I was sort of paying for the ticket in advance, and then sort of organising stuff, and the people organising it were very helpful, very nice. I always remember, was Louise Hupp involved in that as well, or did she just do Nichelle? There was a lady who was involved in some of the conventions. She was very nice, very just a really great experience, and they did another one that I went to, I think the next year, but I'm not sure they kept going with them. I mean, as far as I know, they did well, and a lot of people went, but I don't seem to recall seeing a lot of, I think they might have done a third one, actually, with John Billingsley. I'm trying to remember who was at each one, but they did a couple, and they were great. And I wish they'd kept going, except, I didn't like travelling all the way to Perth or Adelaide or whatever place it was. It was so far out of the way, I don't even know where it was. It was either Perth or Adelaide. I cannot remember. They're all the same to me. Melbourne or Sydney are the only places in Australia, and the rest, they just all blend into the outback, and they're all the same city to me. So I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Have you met any of these guys? Because I did meet Connor again at one of the conventions. Unfortunately, he'd just flown in and he had really bad jet lag and he could barely open his eyes to answer a question. I just sort of left him alone. I'm like, I met you before. It was very nice. Nice to see you again. I'm going to let you take a nap. See you later.